Hey everybody, welcome back to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Today I want to do a video about something I saw on Twitter recently. It comes to you from the Good Morning Britain TV show, and basically if you guys have been watching my live streams on the vegan news and views kind of sessions that I've done, there have been a number of kind of anti-vegan, sort of vegan bashing kind of little segments on that show. Piers Morgan is somebody who's very unabashedly anti-vegan and often takes to the airwaves to basically bash veganism or try to paint it in a bad light. You probably have seen the segment where he's pretending to throw up after eating a bite of the vegan sausage roll. And then he did actually end up in the hospital with, some complicated, I guess like some intestinal problems, which he then tried to blame on the sausage roll that he had like a week before the incident. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Today's video is going to be about a reaction. I'm going to go point by point on the video that they posted in relation to a Twitter post. So let's just jump into it, and I'm going to share the screen here so you guys can see it. Let's get into it. So the Twitter poll that they did was kind of a stupid poll in my opinion, because they clearly don't even understand what veganism is. They think it's a diet, which is actually a common misconception. A lot of people don't know this, but as a news show or as a talk show or something, you would think that they would have like editors and producers who would do a little tiny bit of like, kind of prep work and whatever. But anyway, they put together this question on Twitter that says, is it wrong to make a baby go vegan? And 75% of the people who voted in the poll said that yes, it is wrong. The reason why I say this question is stupid is because they are clearly inferring a dietary question, not a philosophical or ethical question, which is what veganism is about. So that's kind of the first thing I take issue with. But then there's going to be more, and you guys will see what I will show you guys. You'll hopefully see the same thing that I do. But anyway, remember that number 75% said yes. Check out the video here.
Love it or loathe it, veganism is on the rise, with the number of people choosing a plant-based diet quadrupling between 2014 and 2018. And recent figures show 1 in 12 parents are raising their children as vegan.
Couple things. The text down here at the bottom, you can see Good Morning Britain poll, 79% of people say vegan babies should not be raised vegan. Say that babies should not be raised vegan. They are lying about the actual number. It was 75% in the poll, and they're claiming on the show that it's 79. And it's not just a typo. When later on in the segment they actually refer to the poll, they will actually say 79% too. So they are clearly actually lying. It's very interesting. I have my theories as to why. I'll tell you about that in a second. But also, I just want to make sure that you guys caught what he said. The number of people, going vegan has quadrupled in the whatever years that he cited there, the couple past years. He's also saying that 1 in 12 parents are going to be raising their kids vegan. So just bear that in mind for a second.
But some experts are warning it is difficult for a child or baby to get all the nutrition they need from a vegan diet.
We'll join that.
I've done a whole video about this type of, the exact type of scaremongering that they are trying to do here. Please do watch that. I'll link it at the end. I talk about an article that a concerned family member had sent me about my decision and my wife's decision to raise our children on a vegan diet. And I go through a lot of the nutritional kind of health aspects and the typical nutrient deficiency kind of scaremongering that is done against people, eating a vegan diet, and specifically about their kids. So I don't want to rehash the same exact topics, but please do go watch that. And if you really just want a very quick summary, and it would really actually, shut down this whole discussion here, is that the largest body of dietary nutrition experts in the world, which is the U.S. organization. There's 100,000 members in that group, and they actually have come out with a statement many years ago. It's been several years, I think, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or whatever. I'll have the links in the study for the statement that they've had, but they have very clearly stated that a fully vegan diet can be absolutely nutritionally adequate for all stages of life, including infancy, pregnancy, athletes, adulthood, every stage of life. They explicitly say that. And it's just absolutely absurd that people are still trying to scaremonger with this kind of thing when the largest body of dietary experts have said that it is absolutely possible and it's fine. And even in the UK, the whatever the British equivalent is of the American Dietetic Association, they've come out with a similar statement. So it's just kind of laughable, but let's get into it. They have two moms on. They're going to introduce them now.
And by Sarah Jane Halliwell, a vegan mother who won't force her views on her children, and Jess Porazgar, who's bringing up her 11th-month-old, Jonathan, who's in the studio with us as a vegan baby. There he is with her partner, Sam. Looking very content and happy this morning. And we're also joined by Dr. Hilary to give us a medical perspective on this as well. So, Sarah Jane, let's start with you. You are vegan.
I am, yes.
But you've decided not to bring your children up as vegan.
No, I don't want to put my views on my children. I don't think you should put your religious, dietary or political views on your children. I think we have children to guide them to their own destination, not my destination. I mean, my husband, he eats meat anyway, so he can cook all the meat.
Not your thing.
It's not my thing at all.
So a couple things here with this lady. She's clearly not a vegan. She eats a vegan diet, maybe, although I even have my doubts about that, honestly, and I'll tell you why later in the clip. But she's clearly not a vegan, because if she were, she would absolutely be interested in wanting to raise her children vegan, and she would realize that it's not just a dietary choice. It will become more clear as the segment goes on here, but just bear that in mind.
But yeah, basically, I want my children to make their own decisions. I don't want them to live outside of society, because basically that's what you do if you're a vegan, a little bit, before they're ready to. And also being vegan can be quite lonely socially. And I want them to be able to go to parties and not have to think about serious things.
So this lady has like a bunch of issues. Like I certainly wouldn't be awarding her any kind of like good parenting awards. It is absolutely a parent's responsibility to raise your children and to teach them ethics and to teach them morals and how to behave and what is acceptable and what is not. It is not you trying to make them come to wherever you are, and whatever word she used there. It's just really weird that she's trying to somehow basically say that she's like forcing a dietary choice on the kid. I mean, every parent does this. I had meat and dairy and eggs and all sorts of animal products forced on me, just as much as I force my plant-based diet, my vegan diet on my kids. It is absolutely a parent's right and responsibility, I would say, to feed their kid what they think is going to be the best for them. And we can argue about somebody who doesn't think that there's like I said, nutritional deficiencies or whatever, that they don't think it's optimal. That's fine, we can talk about that, but that's not what she's saying. She's basically just like, yeah, I don't want to force my kid to be socially awkward and whatever. Just bear in mind that they just told you that the vegan people have quadrupled in the past, whatever it was, couple of years, and that 1 in 12 parents is going to be raising their kids vegan. It's becoming less and less socially awkward. It's becoming less and less of a weird stigma or what have you. So it's kind of like she's directly even going and saying the opposite of what the intro little segment was. But anyway, the other thing that I think is really kind of telling about her is that she's saying like, oh, I don't want my kids to be going to parties and have to think about serious things before they're ready. It's like, well, how old are your kids, and why are they going to parties by themselves, for one? And like what is it, like serious things? Yeah, it is serious things. ethics is a serious thing. Veganism is about avoiding the exploitation and harm to other sentient beings. It is a very serious thing for the animals that are being killed by everybody who's a consumer of animal products. It's a very serious thing. Those animals are losing their lives. She just doesn't really even understand it. So this is why I'm saying, it'll become even more apparent as she goes on that she really doesn't understand what veganism is. She follows a vegan diet, perhaps, but I think it's more than anything. It's like she said, she gave the gag reflex there when she talked about cooking meat. She will also later say that she's not a cook herself. I think she's probably just kind of grossed out by it and doesn't want to eat, animals, which is great. I mean, it's whatever reason, people don't want to, consume animal products is a good reason. But I would be surprised if she actually is a vegan. I think she's literally just talking about the diet. We'll get into it in a little more.
Until they're ready, and when they're ready, I will tell them the absolute truth in varying degrees. Obviously, I'm not going to sing, oh, MacDonald had a farm and slaughtered all the animals, but...
kind of a funny thing that she's joking around about that, but that actually is what happens, right? So the farmers do raise the animals for profit. They send them off to the slaughter. They might not do it themselves. They go to the abattoir, but that is what happens. And she's like, I'm going to tell them the absolute truth, but I won't even really, sing them the song. It's like, so what are you going to tell them? Well, yeah, there's animals, and then there's this little thing that you don't really know about, and then they end up on your plate. I don't know. She's got a really kind of weird view of this.
I will tell them the truth as they're ready, and then they can make their own decision.
Jessica, you've made a different decision.
Absolutely, yeah.
You also a vegan mum, and you've decided to bring up your baby vegan.
Yeah.
So, in Sarah Jane's view, you're imposing your choices on your child.
I find that a really strange way of putting it, to be honest, because it's not imposing your views, it's raising your child, which is what every parent does. Parents bring their children up with their ethics, with their morals and stuff. I wouldn't, bring my child up and say, well, we're not racist, but, knock yourself out, kid.
I don't need to say anything else. She's good.
I don't think that's the same thing, though.
No, it's not the same thing, but it's...
It kind of actually is the same thing. It's an ethical, moral teaching that you are teaching your children, that it is wrong to exploit another sentient being unnecessarily. And it is the same thing. It's literally the same thing. That's why vegan advocates will use the term speciesism, because we are just viewing these other species of animals as beneath us. And it's exactly the same way that, white people used to view non-white people up until very recently. And, there are many, many people, sadly, who still vividly remember to this day, they're still alive, the horrific, kind of abuses that happened, in countries like the U.S. and elsewhere, where people were still being lynched and segregated and beaten by police and, all this kind of stuff. And there are still horrific racial abuses going on. And just as, sane people would condemn that, when you look at what's actually happening to the animals, you would reach the same conclusion, that it's not right. Why is it that a dog can be loved and pet, and then a pig and a chicken are, sent off to slaughter and have their throats slit? It makes no sense.
But I think Jessica's point is that you are, even by not bringing up your child as vegan, you're still imposing a view on your child,
yes,
aren't you?
Of course.
Because they're children.
And it is my
they don't have
husband's
their own
view,
views
but
at
I
that age.
suppose...
So it's great. She admits that she is imposing a view. So the whole thing that she was talking about is kind of a moot point.
I just want them to try everything food-wise so they can make up their own minds.
Jessica, I think that a lot of people worry about nutrition. So Dr. Hillary...
I love that they barely give the only person who's making any sense on this little panel any time. I thought they were going to actually let her address this, and no, we're just going to shut her up and go to the doctor, who's going to mirror the whole kind of nutritional scare, scaremongering tactic that they have going on here. It's very blatant what's happening here. But anyway, just to go back to the other woman's comment, you are imposing your view, you are imposing the choice, and you are actually taking away the choice of the baby to not kill other sentient beings, and you're deciding for them. Whereas you could have let them grow up and become adults themselves and then make that choice if they want to, make an informed decision of what that actually entails. But instead, nobody starts their children off eating these things by first showing them the graphic, horrific, violent actions that lead up to giving them the chicken McNugget, that first little bit of pig or whatever the animal of choice is. And it's absolutely ridiculous that people are talking about choice when the animals have no choice, and they are literally taking away the choice even from their own children. They are not giving them the choice. They are giving them the animal products, and it should be the other way around.
Are there nutritional concerns when it comes to raising a child as a vegan? Professor Mary Futrell of University College London says in the worst cases, not feeding your child the right nutrients, if you're bringing them up this way, can lead, to a fatality.
No.
Tell me any diet that if you're not feeding them the right way, that it couldn't lead to a fatality. I mean, this is like the debunking that I did on Sverige. The guy, basically didn't eat for whatever it was, like a month and a half. He lost, more than half his body weight and was starving himself, but he was saying that he was following a vegan diet. He literally didn't eat anything. It's like, he could have been saying that about any diet. I could say, like, I'm an omnivore and I fed my kid, 300 calories a day and they starved. Will people get upset and blame the omnivore diet? No, they'll blame me as being a bad parent for starving my kid. That's exactly what any of these headlines are when you see these kind of scare headlines about vegan parents like starving their children. But let's hear what the doctor says.
It can do in extreme cases, but certainly it can lead to deficiencies. And there are many children who are deficient in iron in this country, deficient in omega-3, deficient in B12, etc. So it's much more.
I've covered this in the other video, like I say, but I love how they say these things without giving any kind of scientific background, no data, no links, no studies, no actual statistics on how many people are deficient in these things that he mentions. I have seen many studies that have all shown that statistically there is absolutely no difference between iron deficiency in vegans versus non-vegans. It's definitely not a vegan problem. B12 is a problem across the board. There are now actually, because vegans are so aware of needing B12 supplementation, there are actually latest studies showing now that vegans are less likely to be B12 deficient than non-vegans because they actually take the supplements, whereas tons of people who just eat animal products assume that they're going to be getting enough B12 and they are actually not. So he's very clearly not well informed. I did look up his credentials online just to see kind of what his background was. He is apparently an actual practicing doctor. He's a general practitioner, or was. I don't know if he still practices, but so his credentials are legit. He is an actual doctor. He worked in hospitals and all this kind of stuff, but certainly that doesn't mean that he knows anything about nutrition. If anybody's been watching my channel for a while or watching people like Dr. Greger, you'll know that most doctors don't get any kind of nutritional training whatsoever, and they don't know really just basically almost anything about nutrition. So it's kind of funny that they bring this guy in instead of an actual nutritionist.
Difficult to raise a child on a vegan diet. You have to be something of an expert, which Jess obviously is.
And you're saying that.
I don't know why he thinks that she is, just probably because the kid looks healthy, and I just think that's funny. But anyway, go watch my other video if you want to see about the actual nutritional deficiencies and things like that, because I don't want to rehash them.
It's perfectly possible, but you've only got a window of opportunity for full brain development in the first 2 years of life. And unless you take that window of opportunity, they will never reach their full potential. So omega-3, really important. B12, iron, calcium, iodine. These things you might not easily get from a vegan diet. And unless you're careful, those children won't get their full development. So you just have to be really expert in the diet that you provide for them.
I mean, I think that's the same with a meat-eating diet, though, as well. Like, there's loads of people who would bring their children up eating nothing but, you know, pasta and cheese, and they're not going to get the full range of nutrients as well, but they're not going to come under a microscope like I am just because we're not giving them animal products at all. But
I think B12 is an iodine for me. I mean,
It's like, I just don't need to say anything after that lady speaks. It's like, holy cow, man. She's just right on. Now let's see what the other side says.
I have a bad diet. I just eat crisps and Diet Coke, so I am not a great mum. I can't even cook, so again, I'm not great in that aspect. But I would worry.
Yeah, I don't really have to add too much here. She's really said it all. She's not a good mom. She eats crisps and Diet Coke, and she doesn't have a good diet, and she doesn't know how to cook. Kind of getting a pretty clear picture here of why she's not willing to feed her kid a vegan diet.
If my children were vegan, about the B12 and the iodine thing, because I know from my own experience, when I have had a healthy diet as a vegan, I've still kind of suffered a little bit with that.
Yeah.
So for my...
I wonder how that makes any kind of sense whatsoever. She says that she's eating a really bad diet right now because she has crisps and Diet Coke. But she doesn't say that she has any kind of, nutritional problems now. But when she was eating a healthy vegan diet, she did have problems with those things. Interesting. Don't know if that's logical. I don't know if you buy it. I don't.
My own personal point of view, I don't feel confident that I would be able to be clever enough to give my child a varied diet.
Jess, Jonathan's just little at the moment. He's 11 months, just started tottering around and looks very happy and noisy and gorgeous. Are you worried slightly about when he gets a bit bigger and he's going to little kids' parties?
Not
and
at
there's
all.
Little sausages and stuff, and he's going to be sort of making those choices?
I mean, the good thing is, because, as we said, veganism is so on the rise, there are so many other vegan parents out there. Like, when I was pregnant, I went to an antenatal class, made friends with 6 other mums, and 2 of us are vegan already, so he's already got a vegan friend, like, that's being raised vegan as well.
Will he only go to parties with vegan friends, then?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'm a baker, so I'm quite happy to, like, provide loads of sweet treats for him.
Do you worry about having to police that, though, and also him suddenly realising there's stuff
I love this lady.
that he can't have when his friends are having it and it all looks delicious?
Not really, because everything I provide him is delicious, and, I can easily provide him the alternatives, which will go down just as well. There's literally nothing out there that there isn't a vegan alternative for now. I mean...
I do worry about eating disorders as well, though, because I think if you restrict children, certainly from my experience with anything, you can cause them to obsess about it and want it more. I know, for example, a friend of mine didn't have any chocolate or anything like that when they were younger, so now they have to eat a whole packet of biscuits, whereas I was allowed to eat whatever I want. So I've been able to make a choice about my diet.
Jessica?
So much silliness in here. Giving kids a choice, I've already addressed that, but she says, if you restrict kids and whatever, and you make them not be able to enjoy something, then they're going to be obsessed about getting it, the friend with the chocolate. So she was allowed to eat anything she wanted, and that's why she's now only eating crisps and Diet Coke. Now, I'm sure that's not literally the only thing she's eating, but these are her own words that I'm just kind of referring back to. I mean, if anybody here sounds like they have an eating disorder, it's her. And the fact that she's trying to kind of paint it as like, well, I was allowed to eat whatever I want and I could make my own choices, and that's why I don't have any problems. And it's like, no, you pretty much just admitted that you have problems because you have a terrible diet and you don't know how to cook. So it's like, which is it? Which is the truth?
So if your little baby Jonathan decides, at a party to eat, a sausage on a stick, and you don't get there in time, what would you feel? Or if, when he's 4 or 5 says, actually, I don't like all this alternative stuff, I just want to eat what my friends are eating at school.
Well, I'd be disappointed, obviously. I would tell him the truth about where it comes from. We're going to be raising him to know exactly where it comes from, and I'm not going to show him slaughterhouse videos, obviously. But the fact that, you wouldn't show a child a slaughterhouse video shows how violent and horrific it is.
Bam.
And we want to bring our children up to be compassionate. We want to bring them up to be kind to animals. Everyone brings their child up to be kind to animals.
But what if he decides that, having taken all of that into account, actually he wants to carry on eating meat, would you
Would you
stop
at 5
him?
years old, for example?
Yeah, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely, I would.
You'd allow him to, or you'd stop him?
I'd stop him because it's still my choice to raise him at that age, and every parent would make their decisions for them. You know, if at 5 years old he saw someone drinking a beer or smoking a cigarette and said, "I want to try that," of course I'd say, "No, you can't try that."
Is there an age at which you think?
This lady is like spot on. I've had to actually say these literal words that she's just said about the cigarettes and alcohol to family members that I have who are concerned about my kids eating a vegan diet, and they don't understand that these choices that are being restricted from them, they would actually equally apply to other things that they themselves are also barring from their kids. Like, you know, you go to a family function and I have like whoever, you know, there, and they're drinking, you know, brandy and beer and wine and whatever, and like if my kid was like, hey, you know, what's that, can I have some? I'd be like, no, you know, it's like, it's not good for you. Like, it's the same exact thing. Like, even if you just looked at the health aspects of, you know, a whole food plant-based diet, and that's what you believe is the best for your kid, and you don't want them eating like cancer promoting, you know, sausages like they're talking about, yeah, like you have every right to say to your kid, like, no, you're not going to eat that. It's the same thing with like sugary foods or like highly processed things, or like the Diet Coke and the, you know, other kinds of things. Like, I don't want my kids eating that stuff, and to as much as I can, I will not allow that. And now if they are at some kind of function where, you know, they do consume something like that, and, you know, it's like a little bit like out of my control, like, yeah, I'm not gonna like flip out or whatever, but like that's not the point. The point that they're trying to, you know, do is they're trying to do like a snow job on this woman to basically make her look like she's some kind of extreme person for wanting to force a vegan diet on her children, when all she's actually doing is trying to do what is in her own like moral and, you know, ethical kind of like framework of what she views as being right.
I mean, are you going to keep this going until he's 16 or 18?
Well, yeah, I would. I think that's a reasonable age. When I was a child, I wanted to go vegetarian, and my parents wouldn't let me until I was 16. So, you know, I had that.
I mean, I do think that we don't own our children; they kind of own us. And
I love this lady.
I think it's, I don't know, I wouldn't, obviously, if my sons want a motorbike when they're older, I'm going to struggle with that.
Yeah, you will. And they're not going to be 16 when they're going to be asking for things that you probably don't think is a good idea. But because you're a bad mom, you're probably going to let them do whatever the heck they want and give them whatever they ask for, and you're going to be in a big world of trouble.
But it is their life, and as long as they're kind to people and they understand about life and they know about everything, then...
I love that. She says, as long as they're kind to people. So she's just exactly what I just said. She has no understanding of what veganism is. She doesn't probably even know what the word speciesism is. You know, she's talking about like bringing her kids to the party and doesn't want them to feel ostracized or, you know, socially awkward. Like, I can all but guarantee you she would have no problem bringing her kids to a zoo or a circus with animals or anything else that, you know, a true vegan wouldn't do, because they would view that as being, you know, exploitive of animals, and they wouldn't do it. So it's just funny that she just literally says, like, yeah, as long as they're kind to people. And then she says, as long as they know, what, I forget the word she was, let's hear it again.
And as long as they're kind to people and they understand about life and they know about everything.
Yeah, they understand about life and they know about everything. It's like, she's already said she's not going to tell them everything. So it's like, they're not going to know everything. And that's the only way that children are actually brought into this, you know, this kind of indoctrinated, like, it's okay to kill and exploit and eat and use animals for however the heck we want, because you're doing it in ignorance. There is no child that, as a child, without being indoctrinated at all, if you took a vegan kid that never was exposed to any kind of animal products and you said, like, here, man, we're going to go make you some hot dogs. Here's the first process. See how these pigs are you know, born. Here's how they're kept in the sheds. Here's how the mom can't turn around. Here's how the pigs are, you know, mutilated. Here's how their testicles are ripped out. Here's how their teeth are chopped out, their tails chopped off. all this kind of stuff. And then this is the miserable life that they have, don't see the sun except when they're in the, slaughterhouse, travel or trip, and then they're killed horrifically and whatever, and then we're going to grind them up, and by the way, here's some, pathogens and bacteria and all this other stuff, and it's also really unhealthy for you, and you might get cancer later. This is what a cancer patient looks like, but here's the hot dog, let's eat it. There's no kid alive that would think that that would be okay. And, that's what this lady is not realizing. That's what she's promoting.
Then it's their choices to make.
Do you give Jonathan supplements?
He has a vitamin supplement, a multivitamin supplement every day, which is the NHS requirement for all babies, whether they're vegan or not.
Yeah.
Bam. It's like this lady knows more than the doctor. She's awesome.
Dr. Hillary, are there statistics on generally how much healthier or not healthy a vegan diet is for children or for adults? I mean,
it's difficult to say
overall,
because how many people are giving a fully nutritional vegan diet to children? We don't know, and we don't know how expert they are. And
there's actually plenty of studies that show that people eating a vegan diet are in general healthier than people eating a non-vegan diet. And again, there is problems with this because, as I keep saying, veganism is not a diet. There isn't just one vegan diet. There isn't the vegan diet. There are many vegan diets, an infinite number of vegan diets. And like this guy is alluding to, you can have a really unhealthy vegan diet, like the lady eating the crisps and the Diet Coke. But again, statistics show that vegans on average are the only people who have healthy BMI. They are on average the only people who have cholesterol levels low enough that there are no chance of plaque and arterial buildup happening, atherosclerosis. So this guy is just very, very clearly basically trying to claim otherwise, and it's very disingenuous.
How many children are missing out? But as the Professor Futrell says, they have done research at UCH and they do discover deficiencies and malnutrition in the worst instances. When
he first said this at the beginning of the clip, he was saying that there are many kids with deficiencies. He didn't say that there are many vegan kids with deficiencies, and I would actually challenge him to provide the data that he's kind of inferring here, because he's not even actually making a claim.
If it exists, that's a worry. And I don't doubt Jess's motivation for a moment and her expertise, but not many people who want to embark down this route will actually be feeding their children an adequate diet.
We're getting heckled by Jonathan now.
I think
Yeah, and most people don't feed their kids an adequate diet because they don't feed them enough fiber, they don't feed them enough antioxidants and vitamins and minerals, and those are all things that are shown time and time again to be more abundant and easily, readily available and more readily available on a whole food plant-based diet, especially one with, a variety of fruits and veggies and, whole grains and nuts and seeds and all the kind of stuff that, people like Dr. Greger and Dr. McDougall and the Esselsteins of the world, recommend. So this guy is just, really ridiculous. We're getting near to the end. Sorry for this video being so long. I just really did want to go point by point because there's a lot to talk about.
He's decided he's had enough.
Yeah, it's breakfast time, I think, isn't it?
In fact, he is making noises our producer is making in our ear as well.
I think that joke is actually really crass, and but to some extent it's actually very telling, because I think what's happening here is that these guys do have their little earpieces and they do know exactly what they're doing, and it is a very orchestrated thing. And don't think for 1 minute that shows like this aren't doing an actual concerted attack on veganism, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit.
Because sadly we're out of time.
Well, good luck with it all. Interesting to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Our producer isn't eloquent as Jonathan, that's the problem. Lots of people getting in touch. I mean, huge response, haven't we?
On Twitter, more than 19,000 of you voting in our poll, an overwhelming 79%.
There's that 79% again. It's actually 75, as I showed you guys.
Say that, no, you shouldn't raise your baby as a vegan. But I don't...
So, I guess let her finish.
Don't know how many of those are vegans.
Yeah, they didn't say that. Kaz says, I'm a vegetarian, not vegan. That's my choice. For me, I gave my daughter the best start in life, health-wise, by feeding her meat and fish. When she's old enough, she can make her own decision like I did.
I don't even understand how somebody could be a vegetarian and think that they are giving their kids a health advantage by feeding them meat and dairy. It's like, it's ridiculous. There's so much information out there now that is very clearly showing direct links between so many of the diseases that are killing people, especially heart disease, the #1 killer, but also cancer and other kinds of problems. It's absolutely crazy, these comments.
And then Lynette says, my daughter's vegan and planning a baby, which she says will be raised vegan too. I don't agree, but as it's her baby, I'm not the one making the decision. As long as it's done correctly with all the vitamins and nutrients, and I guess it's the parents' choice to decide.
Jessica, so you're raising Jonathan as a vegan, but your partner is not vegan.
He's vegetarian.
Is he a disappointment to you?
I love the kind of sarcastic and, you know, again, it's like it's a total snow job. They're just trying to paint this lady as this extreme kind of thing. She's like disapproves of her kid. She disapproves of her husband or partner or whatever. It's like, man, it's like so ridiculous.
He eats mostly vegan because I'm the cook, so you know. We could just cut the cheese out, darling. I'd be happy.
All right, didn't want to start anything on air. Sorry about that. Great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
All right, so that's it. And, you know, really, I think the reason why I wanted to show you guys this stuff is because I do think this is a concerted attack. And I really want to end here with a little quote here from, it's a pretty well-known quote. It's attributed to Mahatma Gandhi. And I think I've seen variations of it. So I think maybe other people have said similar things, or I've seen at least people, maybe other people quoting it and changing the words a little bit. But this is the one I know. It says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And, you know, as it relates to veganism, if you think about in the beginning, like there were so few people who were vegan, it was totally non-mainstream. It could easily be ignored. And that is usually how any kind of, you know, change happens. People don't like change. People like doing the same thing. People like tradition. It's called tradition for a reason. It's traditional. Like people want to maintain the way, you know, things were, the status quo. This is the way my mom taught me. This is the way I'm going to teach my kid, et cetera, et cetera. And it takes a real, you know, a lot of effort for people to embrace change and to take it on, and especially when you're flying in the face of you know, your whole society and family and all this kind of stuff. So this quote, you know, the early part of kind of like vegan, you know, activism, you know, it's easy to ignore it, but then once it gets enough momentum that the powers that be and the industry that is, you know, built up around exploiting animals, they notice it. And at first it's easy to kind of almost laugh at it, because it's just like, look at those silly vegans. Oh, they don't want to eat, you know, bacon or whatever. Stupid vegans, you know, whatever. And then they actually fight you. And I think it was Conscientious Sarah that actually said it. I think it was her, but anyway, if it wasn't her, whoever it was, somebody said to me in you know, Twitter that we've entered the fight phase. And yeah, I really think we have, like these types of programs, I really think are, you know, it's a concerted attack. Like it's made to look like it's a really cute and funny. It's just some nice friendly banter and chit chat from these people. But make no, you know, mistake about it. I really think that these people do have a actual plan. They have sponsors. They're told what to do. That joke about having the producer in the ear, that's not a joke. That's legit, like what, you know, what mainstream media is about. And there's a lot of business in exploiting animals, and those, you know, multi-billion-dollar industries are not going to go down without a fight. And believe me, they are fighting. And look at the, you know, campaigns that they put on, trying to scare people against the vegan diet. This is legit, like, fear-mongering. And that's what I think is actually happening here. And yeah, I mean, pretty much, you know, I think that's it. It's a pretty long video. Sorry for you know, taking this long. If you stuck with me, thanks a lot, and appreciate that. Let me know what you guys think. If you saw this, you know, do you think that you know, maybe I'm just overreacting? Maybe you do. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of take offense to some of these kinds of things. Obviously, I get it a lot from people I know personally, but then I also, you know, I just don't like it when people make baseless assertions and they have no stats, no data, no science, no studies, and they just make baseless assertions that are you know, seemingly just there to try and frighten parents from even potentially considering adopting a, you know, a plant-based diet. So yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I say, if you did stick with me through the whole thing, thank you very much. And give it a big thumbs up. And yeah, thanks. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.